Buckeye Nation, welcome to the very first edition of Silver Bullets Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Sommers, contributor at Hayes and Cannon on ozone.net. I'm joined here with my co-host, Chip Minnich, who is also a contributor at Hayes and Cannon on the ozone.net and also Athlon Sports. Chip, how are we doing today?
Doing well, Shannon. It's great to be back with you.
So anybody knows, Chip and I used to do the Men in Scarlet and Gray podcast, and we'll discuss what's going on with everything here. We've terminated the name for Men in Scarlet and Gray podcast based on they're doing their own thing and branching out and trying to do other things. Us joining with Tony and Ozone and trying to build what we're trying to build. It was time to get to a separate identity, separate ourselves from our old past. Unfortunately, I mean, we build up a nice base and nice audience, and hopefully we'll be able to get everybody back over. Great hearing everybody's feedback and wanting to know what was going on with the show, because we experienced some technical difficulties and found out during our recordings after a while that it was a antivirus software that was messing with our recordings. And it, Chip, I think it ruined a viral podcast that we had.
Yeah, I agree. It was a sad way to conclude.
It was.
We were, as you said, we were building up some loyal listeners. Hopefully those listeners, even if we're no longer using our old name, will seek us out through the ozone.net, because we're all very excited for this opportunity to work with such fine people over at the ozone.net.
Yes. And I'm producing Across the Field, which Tony Gerdeman is the host, which we did our first show last night. And we mentioned about, us as former Buckeye Battle Cry writers, contributors, co-editors coming over to the Ozone. One of the biggest problems that happened, and it seemed like everything was like a perfect storm that happened last year. The Penn State loss was our last show for Men in Scarlet and Gray podcast. We tried, recording multiple shows afterwards. We were just we couldn't save the audio at all because of the antivirus software, like I was saying. Blogging got bought out by, I think it was, what is that, NESN?
Yeah, I've lost track of all the mishaps and miscues.
Yeah, well, they decided did right in the middle of college football season to go from the blog into the Sports Daily, and I mean, it was just a travesty trying to get in to log in order to post articles, any of your pictures. Everybody had access to it. It was a mess, and unfortunately, it pretty much killed the Buckeye Battle Cry. I mean, it's a sad way that it went down in the history that the Buckeye Battle Cry had, but certain things, Tony and I, we were communicating because Tony's a friend of our old show, and we've grown close as far as communicating and working together and stuff. So now we have a new beginning. It's like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. So I'm very excited for the venture that we have here and what the future is going to hold for us and everything that we're going to be able to do together and all the fans that we have and all that great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree.
All right, with that, moving forward here, let's see. Let's discuss some of the top topics of the Big Ten Media Days. One of the biggest things, I mean, I don't know about one of the biggest, but as far as BTN Network, a lot of it's been the subscriber base as far as cable. Well, I know myself and a lot of other people are cord cutters. Well, they announced that they're going to be part of Hulu, and Hulu right now has a beta beta TV, which I have currently, and they're also going to be on YouTube TV when that starts coming out. I think right now it's only like in 4 cities. It's been a slow rollout, which I'm waiting for the YouTube TV. But I remember I sent you a message saying that I didn't have any access to the BTN and everything, and I forgot about it being on the Hulu and having the on-demand stuff, so I didn't even have to record it, so I was able to catch up on a lot of things. But I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I think BTN is smart to get on that train in order to be able to get their product out still. And I think BTN's
yeah,
an awesome network.
I completely agree. I think the fact that it's weird to think about that it's 10 years coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the Big Ten Network, and I DVR'd Big Ten Media Days, and it just seems like how fast the time has flown by. But as you said, to be kind of on that cutting edge of, because no pun intended, people are cutting the cord with cable, to make it available on platforms such as Hulu and YouTube TV. I think that portends bigger and better things for the Big Ten Network in the future.
Definitely. I know they're available, I think, like on some other platforms and stuff, like maybe PlayStation View, I think it is. I don't remember. I don't have that myself. So I know they're on DirecTV now, and they're getting themselves out there, and they're not letting themselves get stuck in the corner to where everything's going to pass them by and create a problem, because they're making a lot of money. What the move of adding Rutgers and Maryland to the conference has helped them out immensely as far as making money off the network with subscribers and everything. So the next step is to be able to, take part in this cord cutting process and still be able to get your product out in order to be able to make some money.
I agree.
And hopefully, reach out to Stanley Jackson. Hopefully we can have him back on the show again and talk more about it. And now that I'll be able to have stuff on demand, he can't yell at us for not watching as much as the show as we're supposed to be.
Well, on a separate tangent, one of the things that was unveiled regarding Stanley Jackson and the Big Ten Network is that he is going to be a part of the Big Ten Tailgate show that is on BTN. So congratulations to Stanley Jackson for that. And what also I thought was very intriguing was Mark Silverman, the president of Big Ten Network, mentioned how BTN is going to be there's going to be a new Ohio State themed show that will be on Sportstime Ohio with Rick Pizzo of the Big Ten Network and former Ohio State linebacker James Laurinaitis. And in the words of Mark Silverman, quote, "That was the best screen test that I've ever seen," about James Laurinaitis. So congratulations to James Laurinaitis, who's transitioning to a new career outside of his professional career has recently concluded. So I'm anxious to see James Laurinaitis, in whatever capacity he's going to have on this new show. Hopefully he's also going to be on the Big Ten Network as an analyst, but that's just another opportunity for Ohio State fans to see James Laurinaitis talking about possibly Ohio State football and other sports.
Yeah, I'm excited just to have another Ohio State show on Sportstime Ohio. I mean, you know me, I'm a big Indians fan, so there's a lot of Indian stuff on Sportstime Ohio, and I've been wondering when they sold it to Fox, and it's just, Fox Ohio or whatever. I mean, they're still keeping the name, but I just been wondering how they're going to have multiple Fox Ohios and what direction they were going to go with. And it's nice to know that putting a Buckeye show on there might, keep it going. I just like the feel and everything, and the hometown feeling of sports, Sportstime Ohio.
And they haven't announced the name of the show yet. As far as I know, I was Googling, looking for that. It was just announced. So if any of our listeners happen to find out the name of it, feel free to contact Shannon or myself. Let us know. But it'll definitely be something that whenever James Laurinaitis' show comes out, I'm presuming it'll be right around the time college football season officially kicks off in about a month, that the show will possibly be unveiled. But yeah, it's exciting.
Definitely. So many other things from the Big Ten Media Days. I don't know. It might be something and it might not be something, but you go to the Big Ten Media Days and it's a way to get your recognition, talk about your team and everything. And maybe it is a bias because of the way I feel about, Jim Harbaugh, but you see everybody else dressed up in a suit, looking nice, presenting well, and here he is with just his khakis, his hat, and his Michigan shirt. I don't know. Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, no, Rick Pizzo of, because as I said, I DVR'd it, so I wasn't watching it live, but I distinctly recall Rick Pizzo of the Big Ten Network as Jim Harbaugh was approaching the stage saying how Jim Harbaugh is must-see TV. And yeah, I mean, he definitely, it was, I think somebody on Twitter might have said something about, like, oh, there's Waldo, kind of, like, because they took a picture of all the coaches, and everyone else, as you said, they're all wearing suits, and there's, Jim Harbaugh wearing a hat and, a sweatshirt, just kind of looking completely out of place. It was watching it on DVR, some of the things, Tim May of the Columbus Dispatch asked him a question about the elimination of two-a-day practices, and then Jim Harbaugh went on this weird, I don't want to call it a rant, but this weird tangent about how now doctors no longer are sleep deprived and pilots are no longer sleep deprived, and how we want to make things better for for our pilots, and so it's a good thing, and it was just kind of surreal to
I think
follow
he's
it.
sleep deprived.
maybe I mean, it just, but he's just a weird dude. I mean, he's a good football coach. The results speak for themselves. I think any Ohio State fan that wants to critique his coaching, just look at the overall record. I'm not saying necessarily of just the Wolverines. I'm saying, wherever he's been, he's led teams to winning records. So that being said, he sometimes wears out his welcome. So that it remains to be seen if that odd shtick of his is going to be tolerated much longer up in Ann Arbor.
Especially if he loses another one to his rival.
I agree.
And since we're talking about Harbaugh, it kind of brings me back to last year when we were discussing, when we had Pick Six previews on, and we were breaking down both the conferences, and we talked about Michigan. And I mean, thankfully we have it on, recorded, so people can't say I'm full of crap. But I don't know if you remember, I said one of the key things for the Ohio State Michigan game was going to be how Michigan handles adversity during the year. If Michigan doesn't have to, deal with a lot of adversity, they're going to fold. They're going to have a lot of issues. And that's exactly what happened. And it started with the coach. I mean, he had a complete meltdown in that game, and he changed the outcome of that game himself. He cost Michigan that game. Not the.
Well, he mentioned at Big Ten Media Days, he was asked about if, because he didn't try to duck it, and he didn't try to sugarcoat it. Harbaugh mentioned how the Wolverines lost 3 of their last 4 games. And he mentioned how unlike Urban Meyer, who said during his stint at Big Ten Media Days, how, that ship has sailed, how Ohio State's not using the loss to Clemson as motivation. Harbaugh admitted that he's going to try to use that as motivation. So, yeah, I think he definitely, he was a prime culprit in a lot of the negative results that the Wolverines faced down the stretch.
Yeah, it was nice seeing him melting down on the sideline. And actually, I didn't really see the meltdown on the sideline because this was the first time that I was able to experience a Michigan-Ohio State game. And what an atmosphere. What